evening, and welcome to Having a Drink with Mink. I'm your host, Jason Mink. Thank you for joining us on this very special episode. What's so special about it? What's so special about it, Larry? He doesn't know. Well, stick around. We'll find out together. Questions will be answered. Answers will be questioned. It's going to be a wild time, is what it's going to be. I hope you have a nice beverage on hand. I know that I do. Let's get right to it because, hey, I'm ready to go. We begin at the beginning, and you're probably thinking, Mink, where's the Migos? Well, I figured you deserve a break. Been going pretty heavy on the Migos as of late, but don't worry, it's not like there aren't more right around the corner. Today we're going to focus on something we haven't done in a little while, and that's Three Mans, $5. Who doesn't like to get Three Mans, $5? I know that I do, and there's no better example of that than example number one right here. This is Shellhead. That's, of course, Iron Man from Mattel's Secret Wars line. Now, back in 1983, toy maker Mattel met with Big Jim Shooter over at Marvel Comics, and they were kicking around ideas for a potential toy line, and it turns out that kids love two concepts, secrecy and war. And so, that was a no-brainer for Jim. He had some of Marvel's most popular characters, heroes, and villains whisked off to the furthest corner of the cosmos, engaging in cataclysmic conflicts, battles beyond the imagination. And then, they never spoke of it again. Nor should they. It was a secret. Actually, I think they made one or two more things in relation to that, one of which being this guy right here. Now, those of you in the know will realize this isn't Tony Stark. At the time, he was busy, glug, glug, drink, drink. You know, this is actually Rhodey filling in the red and gold pajamas, his first time out as Iron Man. And I gotta say, it is a great figure. No matter how you choose to play with it, he's got the standard 5 points of articulation, so he can do, pretty much what you'd need him to do, fly around. He's got his fist so he can, bang on a door, I guess. Boom, boom, boom. Pepper, I know you're in there. He can kick the door open. Boom. Happy, how could you? All the standard adventures that you would expect to have with Iron Man there, but really happy to pick him up. I got him for $3. This guy I got for $1. Can you believe it? You might be saying, yeah, I can believe it. He is pretty beaten up. In fact, he lost a lot of paint. He's even missing his visor. But that's no big deal because RoboCop, well, he's been through a lot. Absolutely, I like to think this just recreates the scene in the warehouse in Pittsburgh. No less, where Lewis is helping him adjust his tracking while he shoots jars of baby food. Knock yourself out. But I absolutely loved this film. When I was a teenager, it was part of my big three. The big three were, of course, Star Wars: A New Hope, Evil Dead 2, and RoboCop. Films that were in constant rotation on the TV all the time. What can I say? They were just so quotable. And I made it a point to grab myself a RoboCop right from the jump. I was incredibly disappointed that Kenner didn't bring us a Clarence Boddicker. What's up with that, huh? Okay, so, wrapping things up, here he is. This isn't a kid in a snowsuit. It is, in fact, Bruce the Batman from the Batman action figure line. The movie came out in 1989. The first wave of figures consisted of Batman, the Joker, and Bob the Goon, and they proved so successful. What kid wouldn't want a Bob the Goon? That Kenner invested a little bit more money in a second wave. This is Bruce the Batman. Underneath the cowl, we have a very nice likeness of Pittsburgh's own Michael Keaton. That's right, much beloved for his time interning on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Michael Keaton here makes a slightly frumpy Batman in his big old suit, but it gave you the opportunity to have two 2 action figures in one. And my good buddy Owen had this figure. He loved this guy. He wasn't a big action figure fan, but he did have it standing on his shelf for a long time. And even though this isn't that action figure, and both that figure and Owen are long gone, I like to, think of him again, having this guy in the crew. Absolutely. When you can get 3 mans for $5, you're doing all right for yourself. Yes, you are. All right, so as you can see, we got some old comics. Let's get right to it. But first, the pause that refreshes. Thank you, Larry. Always makes an excellent whatever this is. We begin with Major Impact, and he's the Space Ace. You bet, in an incredibly stylish spacesuit. When you're out there, you want to be seen, I assume. So you're going to want to go with yellow and make sure your little toddler friend is wearing one of those as well. Here's Major Impact getting ready to punch this guy out. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with his mouth. Looks pretty nasty. Now, Impact. That's an enigmatic word, isn't it? It sounds almost like a Native American tribe, the Innipaks who used to live up by the river there. No, in fact, Innipak is a food supplement. It's a powdered crystalline drink. It's here it is, gang, the best chocolate drink in the world, says the Major, and, everyone loves a man in uniform, so, I figure if I ever come across it, I'll give it a shot. It's got all the vitamins and minerals a growing kid like me needs, so... Then we're moving on to Marvel Feature. It presents the Defenders. But the team is in its infancy here, the non-team, if you will, and they're combating the Dread Dormammu. And this one is particularly interesting to those comic historians among you out there because we return to Rutland. That's right, the Rutland Parade is featured in this as well. So if you're collecting those books, you're going to want to put it on your checklist. Then here's Marvel Spotlight on the Son of Satan, number 15. And, it's amazing to think that at one point in time a major publisher would put out a book like this. Here he is, Son of Satan, fighting off the demonic hordes. It's Black Sabbath. Oh, yeah. Somebody get Tommy Iommi on the phone. And if you missed it the first time... or if you got one of those coverless cuties that Mink is always going on about, here it is again on the splash page, and that is pretty dynamic. Son of Stan, facing off against his own dad. That is right, the Prince of Lies himself, making the scene with a magazine, and boy is he disappointed with his kid. And who could blame him, really? And what's really notable about this book is Marvel was really good about featuring real-world locations in their stories. It gave them more gravitas, more impact. Especially if you lived in that area, you thought, hey, the Son of Satan fought the demonic minions up on the Gateway Arch. You'd never really look at it the same way again. Then, a long time ago, I decided I was going to complete my run of Marvel Tales, because while I'd never be able to have all the Amazing Spider-Man, I could theoretically have all of his appearances in this run of the book, and at the time you could find them in dollar bins. People have been wising up because they realize these are still Silver Age presentations of those stories before the stories were chopped up. They cut pages out, but here we go. You may notice something curious. At this point in time, Marvel had stopped using those classic Spider-Man covers and were flirting with new designs. I'm not sure if this was intentional or whether the original covers, walked out the back door or what happened here, but here's a slightly off-model Spider-Man and Kraven duking it out. This is it, Wallcrawler. The Day You Die. Check him out. If there was ever an old guy who liked old comics, it's him. If this is you, please share a picture in the Facebook group. Here's Iron Man, and he's hooking up with Rick Jones and the Teen Brigade. That's right, they're a resource that we often forget is available to us. The next time you're having trouble, maybe there's a spider in the garage, or, maybe you can't get your TV to work, call the Teen Brigade. Rick is always sitting there by the radio. He's happy to help. And then here's, Yag, the Slayer, and in a dynamic illustration by Jack Kirby, and he's trying to kill Loki there. Who could blame him? This one really caught my eye as well. Oh, dear God. As well as this here. Here is Odin taking a bath. Boy, I could have gone the rest of my life without seeing that. Very realistically rendered. Boy, I hope Jack didn't draw that from life. And then here's the worst of Not Brand Eck. I was happy to pick this one up because, well, who wouldn't want more Brand Eck, I ask you? And these feature stories from all of Marvel's most popular creators. Here we have the first appearance of Forbush Man. And now, on to the heart of the matter. If you're lucky, it happens to you once in a lifetime. It's that magic moment when two souls connect. That blissful instant when you know that nothing will ever be quite the same again. Oh, sure, there are obstacles, of course. These manifest in the form of, say, large, overly violent boyfriends, or the fact that the object of your affection is entirely fictional. In my case, it's both. But what can I say? There's just something about Midge. Making her debut in the pages of Betty and Veronica #5 and Jughead #4 in the same month, Midge has always been a bit of an outlier. Midge Clump is the girlfriend of Big Moose Malone. As such, their initial encounters with the gang were always kind of peripheral, but as time went on, we discovered that Midge, she had needs that weren't being met. And Reggie Mantle, well, he's always been happy to tag in. And while he has less luck with Veronica, Reggie always seems to do pretty well with Midge, at least until Big Moose shows up. And here you can see that the previous owner of this comic has attempted to moderate the intense amount of violence that's about to occur by drawing a few flowers in there. That doesn't seem to be stopping Moose at all. He is very upset, and as well he should be, because you'll note there's a pattern that's going on here. Now, initially, Midge was drawn a good bit shorter than the other girls. You can see she's even standing on one foot right there. It made sense. You know, it underscored the fact that her boyfriend was, in fact, the big moose, and not just regular-sized moose. And, you know, it made her look a little bit different than the other gals as well. But for some reason, you know, a couple years later, she enjoyed a growth spurt. And, you know, she's been regular-sized Midge ever since. So, here we have a copy of Archie's TV Laugh Out, and this is starring Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. And I gotta say, that does look like a good sandwich. I'm not sure that I could eat a sandwich that large at this rate in my life, or, you know, digest it. But, you know, it does look appealing. Jughead was always great for that. But we're not talking about sandwiches. We're talking about Midge and her needs. And here Midge's needs aren't being addressed at all. She's put the word out to other boys in Riverdale that she's looking to date. And Big Moose, well, he's not too happy about that. And he's intimidating these guys from a distance, you know. And Midge, she just doesn't get it. All she wants is a chance to find out what the rest of the males in this world are like. Is that too much to ask? The rest? That's a lot. But, you know, nonetheless, sometimes God loves a trier. Moose hangs in there, and at the very end, there she is on his arm, as always. And she's telling him, just wipe that stupid grin off your face, will ya? But that Moose, he knows a good thing when he sees it. And then here's an Archie's Pals and Gals, very much in keeping with the season. Man, I think this women's lib scene is getting out of hand. Oh, Archie, you'd never make it in 2022. But here's the Moose pinup, and he's about to pummel Reggie for just doing something. This is officially sanctioned by Santa Claus. I'm pretty sure you're allowed to kiss anyone under the mistletoe, so, you know, we might have to call him up against the committee for that. But I guess when Moose himself is representing Santa Claus, then Reggie, he doesn't really have much of a foot to stand on. And as you can see, by the end of the episode, he's being dragged off to receive a severe beating behind the back of the department store. Yeah, it's going to be bad for him. And then we have a nautical theme going on here with the kids, and they're dancing up a storm. Oh yeah, going boating is fun, Ronnie, especially if it never leaves the dock. I wanted to point this out to you. There's Archie doing his best Harold Lloyd. It's a classic gag, and that's a wonderful representation. And that's the sort of exciting content that you would get in these things. They were all news stories. You couldn't go wrong. Here, Betty realizes that she's a dead ringer for Hollywood starlet Flo Freely. And, well, let's just say hijinks ensue. And then here's more Archie's pals and gals. And something tells me that we should have never let the chicks into our drag club. Yeah, actually, I think there are rules against that. Don't quote me on it, though. But if you want to get to know Midge a little bit better, you might want to have her cook for you. Oh, yeah. And Moose, he's really going for it. He can't get enough, and neither can Reggie. What did I tell you about hanging around with my girl Midge? Gack! Have mercy, Moose! I couldn't resist biting into her delicious fingers! Not making it any better, buddy. You're not making it any better. And then there's a little more. Reggie and Midge. You told Moose what? Oh, yeah. Apparently, Reggie is taking Midge skiing. But it doesn't go quite as Midge had planned. And I gotta say, I really dig this outfit. Shades of Janet Van Dyne. You know what I'm saying? I think you do. If you're watching this channel, you do at any rate. And then at one point in time, it was as if the channel had been switched. The attention that was being paid to Midge all of a sudden shifted over to Big Ethel. She just, out of the blue, she bloomed like crabgrass in your front yard or something. Here she is, running into the ocean, hoping that someone will eventually answer her cries for help. She doesn't have nearly as much luck as Ronnie here, who gets bumped in the badonkadonk not once, but twice by a beach ball. I think that the first time it might be someone else's fault, but the second time, well, maybe you need to, reconsider your diet there, Ronnie. Next up, speaking of the badonkadonk, there's a phrase that I never thought that I would utter on this show. Something's happening with Midge, and I can't say that I don't like it. And the horses are looking on as Reggie is about to get pummeled. Oh, no! Don't beat him up again! I thought Riverdale was supposed to be a nice place! Next up, are you ready for a hearty heaping helping of Jughead's soul food? That's right, it's a Spire comic, don't you know? And somehow we can't seem to get away from Al Hartley on this channel. Every time I turn around, those eyes are following me. Here's Jughead's prayer page. You got all the usual suspects asking for repentance, but you know who the one person is who isn't looking for forgiveness? The one person in Riverdale who knows that sometimes it's good to be bad? Oh yeah, I think we both know the answer to that. And here she is looking oh so 80s on the cover of Archie's TV Laugh-Out. Reggie only has two faults, Betty. Everything he says and everything he does. And then when it comes right down to it, a hot dog makes Patty lose control, but for Midge, well, it takes two to really get her going. As you can see, she's all fired up on the cover of this Archie's Pals and Gals, and Dilton is wondering if he should try and kiss Rhonda, and if she would cry for help, and that's only if he needed it. Next up, attentive viewers will say, "Hey, Mink, you showed that one last week," and yeah, you're absolutely correct, and I won't dwell on it, as hilarious as it is. Tiny Archie. I love that. But I wanted to show you specifically because, Big Moose, he's always having trouble, with his gal Midge. He's always putting his big foot in his own mouth. He's his own worst enemy when it comes right down to it. Looking to score points at Christmas, he asks Dilton, what should I get her? And Dilton says, hey, you know what gals like? nightgowns. And so this particular panel, this ties into Dan DeCarlo's previous artwork in gentlemen's magazines. I'm not saying that we'd ever see Midge in something like this, but if you want to see Midge in something like this, well, there you go. All right, and then here's Jughead. And I gotta say, few things pique collector interest like monster covers. There's just something about the teeners interacting with these classic creeps that really gets collectors' blood pumping, and prices go up to boot. You'll see here classic monster Frankenstein himself looking much healthier than the last time I saw him. You know, improved pallor. I'm not sure what he's doing, but keep it up, pal. And he's got a new gig in Riverdale. There haven't been many arguments since this new referee showed up. So, you know, there it is. There's a place in the world for everyone. Oh, and I see I have something indicated here. Oh, yeah, you remember the Blob? Well, apparently we have a nice little riff on that there. Jughead invents his own blob that has some pretty remarkable capabilities. I'm thinking Reggie probably wanted to take that home at the end of the night. Next up, here's some more Archie's pals and gals. And here's the gang following an attractive young lady through the mall. I think that's called stalking now, actually. Wanted to point this one out. It's a girl named Sue, and apparently all the fellas are hot and bothered by the new cheerleader, and the girls aren't too pleased about it as well, including Midge, who's really put out by the fact that her normally faithful boyfriend, Big Moose, is even smitten by this nubile newcomer. The girls decide the best thing to do is ignore her, but, well, that doesn't go exactly as planned. Then here we have some Jughead, and speaking of nubile newcomers, here's one for all you Big Ethel fans out there. You know, you like a little bit of collarbone? Oh yeah, who doesn't? Next up, it's even more Archie's pals and gals. Can you stand it? I don't even know that I can. I'm the one making the video. But here's Betty rocking a fuchsia tank top and bell-bottom combo. Wow, look out. 1974, here she comes. Here's a story I was talking about. It's Dilton in Little Big Man, and it appears as though Reggie's done Dilton a favor by setting him up with a date. But it is in fact a swerve, because Reggie has sent him over to the home of no less than Barracuda Barton. That's right, she's a senior, and she's man-hungry to boot. Dilton goes on over and rings her doorbell, and when she does notice him, you know, it takes her a while. He's like rib height. Well, she invites him in after he compares her to the Grand Canyon. Let me tell you guys, gals love it when you compare them to the Grand Canyon. And sitting there on the couch, he asks the musical question, what do we do now? And of course, the answer is a great big old smooch. And apparently, well, something goes boing in Barracuda, and if you can get them to boing, there's a good chance there's a second date in your future. In fact, Barracuda goes wild for Dilton, and he's got to fend her off with a chair. I guess we've all been there, huh? And in the end, it turns out that the word has gotten out. All the gals in Riverdale want to date Dilton. So, cheers, buddy. I hope you made that work for you for a while. And then we're going to wrap things up. Apparently, there's a bit of prurient interest when it comes to Archie comics, when it comes right down to it. You know, it makes it tough as a collector because, you know, me, I have the noblest of intentions when I buy these. And you'll note that, you know, Betty and Veronica, even Sabrina, they look pretty comfortable. Midge, she's a little bit buttoned up when it comes right down to it. Well, I think that maybe someone sent a note. Perhaps the head office had a few words with, you know, the Archie creators, because not too long ago, Midge was showing up dressed like this. And I figure, you know, some artist wives made a few telephone calls, and they put the brake on that whole thing because, boy howdy, there's just something about Midge, I guess. All right. Well, that would appear to be it. Thank you for joining us on this very special episode of Having a Drink with Mink. I'm your host, Jason Mink. Watch for a new one soon. It's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about, nothing less than that half a wave amigos that we missed the first time out. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Cheers, my friends.